Hey, what's going on, guys? CMK here. So I promised to one of my subscribers to answer the question, he or she, I'm not sure, in regards to the gender, has asked in the commentary. So Saina Mubashiri, I'm extremely sorry if I'm pronouncing the name wrong though. So I'm really enjoy your mindset, and I'm really in this kind of in this kind of mode, and videos really like doing this myself, but unfortunately money comes first, and I'm forced to focus on technologies that market once, like web app and something missing there apparently. So I have questions: how do you manage making money of programming, and also looking for technologies you love. So yeah, I'm sorry, my my reading skills are not that perfect. So, like from what I understand from this question, it's like hobby projects versus some production-related things, some production-related stuff. Yeah, this question is really good, and I even promised to make an entire video on this, because this is really the question I'm asking myself literally every single day. And like in order to avoid reinventing the wheel at some point, I just want to point out to Richard Stallman, who is the maintainer and I guess the founder of the free software movement in the US, right? So yeah, and what is very interesting about the free software movement, that the matter of being free is not just the matter of being free of charge, even though it's also on the cards, but probably not even the most important things, especially nowadays, because it's all about one simple question. So whether user is using software, or whether the software is using the user and making use of the user, or user makes use of the software, or the software makes use of the user. And unfortunately, when we're talking about the modern technologies, it's all about the software actually benefits itself from making use of the user. It's not obviously like charging the user to pay for the software, like Windows or Mac do, for instance. No, not even about that. Even some free services like Google provides, for instance. It's really about violating the privacy, controlling the user, forcing the user to update the software. Like, for instance, I'm getting extremely mad when the web browser is asking me to get updated, because I hate it so much. I really love to install the system once and forever, and never go for updates. You might be wondering about the security issues. Well, if you don't have much money on your bank account, all the rest doesn't really matter that much. So you get hacked, well, that's unfortunate, but life isn't over. So like instead of trying to avoid being hacked, it's probably better trying to avoid being useful for somebody, so someone actually would try to hack you. That's pretty much all about it. Like being afraid for my YouTube channel, like other people like being hacked on YouTube recently, it's also not that big deal. My channel almost doesn't bring me any money, and as for content being useful, well, I don't think so. Well, my subscribers do, but it's just reflection of my current state. My current state has gone. I got a new state, so every next day, what I've been up with so far, like for the recent years, doesn't make much sense. It's no longer on the cards. And well, if one day it happens that I try to log into my YouTube and the channels are like broken, deleted, or whatever, well, I'll probably get a little bit upset, but I will probably then start doing new ones, or maybe try some absolutely different thing. I don't know. So this like thing of being crazy about privacy and security, like no, being crazy about privacy is not good. It's not bad, but being crazy about the security, well, just don't put sensitive information online. That's the best security measure. So let's go back to the free software versus the proprietary ones. So the idea that Richard Stallman was trying, and still is trying, to widespread to the world is that software should serve the user and not vice versa. And in order to make it happen, one of the most essential things is what's the main value behind the software that we're building. So there might be two major different values that are on the contrary to each other. So the first one is freedom to use the software in the way you want, freedom to modify the software in the way you want, like modifying the source code. This is all about the general public license for GNU. That's kind of thin, and this freedom, it sometimes it comes with some sort of inconveniences. Like here, for instance, on TinyCore Linux, I migrated a couple of days ago to TinyCore Linux and made some videos. I'm absolutely happy about this. But let's say such simple things as dealing with controlling the sound, for instance. So here, I don't even have the GUI for controlling the sound. Well, actually, I have one, but PAVU, my God, how's that called? It's hidden below the window. Can't show you. PAVU control. Yeah, I have the PAVU control, but it doesn't really make that much sense. Although I use that to try to make my external mic being connected. It usually takes quite a bit of time. It's not as simple as I could do this in the Linux machine. So it's not convenient, but it kind of it makes me free, because I'm not forced to have some packages being installed that I'm not using or I don't want to be installed in my system, etc. So it's about that I control the software that is installed on my computer and not on the contrary. So that doesn't happen that some packages getting outdated, it needs to be like updated, and it has some new dependencies, and you're already forced into this. That's horrible, really. What I prefer instead is just make it once and forever, make a snapshot, and then I can recreate this from. Like, I just take my CMK Linux ISO, the custom TinyCore Linux build from the GitHub. It's publicly available, by the way. And then I also take my private home directory with all the configurations, like setting up the fonts, for instance, like some minor settings to make the terminal look good, and to have my simple screen recorder folder being pointed to the specific place, etc. So not a big deal, really. And I can install, I can refresh my system, like erase the USB flash drive, and my entire system run on the USB flash drive. So I can erase it just in a moment, and then another moment I put things in, I burn the ISO, I put the home directory, and I got a fresh system like out of the box again. So meanwhile, I was doing this for recording videos for YouTube, like I did. I've already did a few videos with a simple screen recorder, and also made. I managed to compile it under TinyCore Linux, and now we're working to provide the simple screen recorder package to the TinyCore Linux repository. So I've already submitted the package to the administrator. And it still needs a little bit of work in there, but anyways, hopefully it will appear in some observable time. But let's get back to the question. So money comes first. Well, it depends. Money comes first. It only if you choose it, basically. Well, obviously this in many regards it depends on what country are you based in, where do you live, basically. Well, I live in Ukraine. We are having a war now, and yeah, that's a bit unfortunate. But generally speaking, I can say that living in Ukraine, I can do way less. I can work less as if I was living in Europe, let's say, and if I was living in US, I couldn't allow myself that lifestyle that I currently have. So that's all with the trade-off. So where do you live? What do you pay for that? I mean, internally, maybe externally sometimes as well. So it really depends on where you're located. So like the way I prefer, like the question, how you manage making money? Well, I'm making money by freelancing. These might be either web scraping or some web development related things. And you say like market wants like web applications, etc. Well, actually, web applications. I can do a web application on TinyCore Linux. It's not a big deal, so I can do my casual Python Flask things. The other problem is that probably no one would be considering Flask application for their production. They would like Django or something else. So yeah, that's questionable, but it's all about like the mindset. If you're getting used by software, you will eventually be used by other people, by companies, by everyone, and that's the way of slavery. The way of freedom is on the country. So you decide which software to use. And now I would even say more that if my current Linux distribution doesn't allow me to do some jobs, I would just drop those jobs and I would consider someone else. That because like my environment is more important to me than the money I can make using the different environment. This might sound weird, but that's my truth. But because that's the way of freedom, and like the opposite thing is the way of convenience. So, like I said, two major approaches. So the way of freedom, where you use the software and not in the country, and another, the way of convenience. Unfortunately, the modern world goes insane, and like in good old AC/DC. Батько, я записую відео, я тобі передзвоню, добре?
Підожди,
це стривай, я на паузу поставлю.
Давай.
Yeah, sorry for inconvenience, just got a call here. So on the one hand you have freedom, on the other hand you have convenience. And unfortunately the modern world and the modern software, this highway to hell like AC/DC said in their song, it's happening because the entirety serves the matter of convenience. Everything serves the convenience. So the software serves the convenience, the technology serves the convenience, everything everywhere serves the convenience. And that's the big problem, because they only say like that how good it is to do something for convenience. However, the price is freedom. And that's the core thought. That's the most essential thought ever, because you can have convenience of having this smartphone, for instance. You just you can make calls, you have access to the internet, all the things. But on the other hand, you have a backdoor in this phone, and actually, like, government can listen to what you're talking about. And like, well, if you're not talking, if you're not talking shit, and you're not afraid of like talking about something, that is, it's totally fine. And most likely, no one would ever be using this. But on the other hand, that for those this might be a problem for someone. That for those, it would be definitely a problem, because this device is literally a spying device. So the web camera can be used to track my face, like where am I, what am I doing, the GPS, whatever. And even if you like disable everything, still smartphone can track you extremely well. And basically something similar is happening to the computer world, because like Richard Stallman said in one of his recent interviews that the hardware, the Intel hardware in particular, is now starting having some backdoors as well. So it's also like all for spying purposes, some sort at some point. And again, like this all is justified by the convenience, because they say like they're making this for you, so it would be more convenient, so you feel better, you feel like as they care about you. Well, not really, because good things are spread on their own, and only bad things are being promoted all the time. Now you see like what is promoted on the internet: the privacy, security, convenience, all these things. And among those real things being promoted, also many things like being artificially generated, like those are not the problems. Like antiviruses, for instance, like on Windows. I never used antivirus when I was using Windows when I was a kid, because you just don't go to porn sites, and that's it. You just don't have any troubles with having the viruses there, or that's kind of it. And many different other things work exactly the same way. So like I can separate, trying to answer the question, I can't really separate things like what market wants from this direction where the market goes, because it's really same thing. And the problem is this one, that unfortunately money comes first. It's not true. This is not true. This is true only if you agree for this. whatever slavery is true only if you agree to be the slave. And you might be wondering, and you might be thinking like, I'm not agree to be a slave. I just want to live a comfortable life. Well, you got hooked just when you think like that. That's pretty much all about it. So once you consider comfort over freedom, you're already hooked. And the software, like whatever, the principle is the same. And when you are hooked, you then start asking these questions like, this is what I like and this is what I'm forced to do. So that's the problem, because whenever you choose from between what you like and what you're forced to do, and when the favor is going to what you're forced to do, you just tighten this rope around your throat even harder, because you're getting enslaved even more and more. And I'm not really about saying that this is bad or something. Well, for me personally, it's something never to happen. It's absolutely inappropriate for me personally. That's the reason why I don't make much money, and that's the reason why my channel is not popular. Because again, like let's consider YouTube. YouTube says you just do videos about what you like and get paid for that. Well, that's not entirely true, because if you're doing videos on what you really like, no one is actually watching that. That's the ugly truth behind it. So like I really like computers from 70s, like Kim 1 for instance, where you didn't even have the monitor, you just have 6-7 segment LEDs and 16 buttons to input the machine codes directly into the machine, into that computer. And that's one of the most amazing computers ever. I made a chess program of 717 bytes to run on this computer. When I made it run, it's so fantastic. But that video probably got, I don't know, it didn't even have 1,000 views, I believe. So no one really cares about this. And there was time where I was going insane, like, because no one cares about what I care. No one is interested in what I am interested in. But that's okay, because no one really has to be interested in what I am interested in. That's pretty much it. Like, no one has to. And now this thing, like I left Linux Mint, and I've migrated to Tiny Core Linux. It's exactly the same thing. So I am dropping comfort for freedom. So it's really harder to do many things that I was comfortable doing on Linux Mint. I can't do this as comfortably as I did on Linux Mint here on Tiny Core Linux, but I have more freedom. And now, for instance, before I dropped Linux Mint, I couldn't ever understand like what's the reason of shell scripting, because on Linux Mint, I guess on Ubuntu that's exactly the same thing. You have everything automated for you already. You have the GUI that do everything you want to do, just like on Windows, for instance. You don't really need ever to think about why to use the shell scripting. However, if you have a system like Tiny Core Linux, where there is no much automation at all, and you need to do everything manually, and it gives a big freedom. Like for instance, like pulse audio driver. So like it works on, like, say on Linux Mint, there is a system dbus, and the pulse audio is connected to that, and the pulse audio daemon is being requested by many services simultaneously. Like you can try to listen to the video in the web browser, you can like open some video recording software and open some audio file or video file locally on your system, etc. So many processes are being fed by the same pulse audio daemon, and yes, that's convenient, definitely, but on my system I don't have that. So for instance, Firefox, if it needs the pulse audio, so it just somehow deals with that. I don't even know how that happens. But then if I want to start recording the video, I need to reset the ALSA manually. I don't even touch pulse audio because I try not touching the pulse audio whenever I can, and so on. So for instance, I can like record the video and meanwhile watching the video on YouTube. Well, that's something I could have done on Linux Mint, but really, if you're recording the video, why would you like to watch the video? So it's a bit of redundancy. And there are many same examples. And as the benefit, what I have as the benefit is, like I'm just like I couldn't imagine that I will learn so much about how Linux works internally before migrating to tinycore Linux, because now I'm really like finding myself writing some shell scripts, believe it or not, or writing some Python scripts to automate things for this particular operating system. This is really fun. This is incredible, and I feel like much closer to the Unix philosophy, for instance, and so on. Like using Vim, for instance, when you don't have any other text editor in the system, you can install one, but I just don't really want to, because using Vim is really in the spirit of Unix philosophy. Like it's all Linux, Unix, it's all this family, operating system families is like the same spirit like behind them. And again, like the matter of this modern technologies, like modern technologies are also are mostly built on Linux. It's just a matter of scalability. So how more modules you have that are bringing the modules together, and like little commands can grow into the bigger modules. Bigger modules can grow into like entire systems, and then those systems can be scaled almost without limits. So it's important to understand the underlying principle and not sticking to the specific technologies. And if we're talking about like how the specific technologies work, again, like not even how they work, but what do they serve for? And when I see what they serve for, they serve this convenience, which is enslaving people globally. Because again, like we're trying to get democracy all over the world, but the software market is already dominated by a limited number of companies, of big monsters. Like, it's not my words, it's something that Richard Stallman is explaining. And there is no more democracy in the software, believe it or not, because yeah, like you're about like doing like watching videos, you go to YouTube. You're about emailing, you have Gmail. You're about searching, you have Google. Well, obviously you have DuckDuckGo. Obviously you have some other search engines. Obviously you have alternatives. But generally, like you say, you want to deploy your service, you go to Amazon, DigitalOcean, what else? So no one is trying to craft something on their own completely from scratch, because there were lots of things already available, and it's convenient. And this convenience leads to the fact that democracy is disappearing from the world of software, unfortunately. And that's one of the reasons, like, but again, like, it's not something that, what Richard Stallman, for instance, he thinks that one should fight that. Well, I don't think so, because, like, it's your own opinion, it's your own choice. So if you want, if you agree to pay, to give away your freedom for that convenience, that's okay. Like, someone once asked me, like, the reasons for using Vim, and I don't remember exactly, but what I try to explain, that if you don't understand why to use Vim, you just install Vim, you just go install Windows and install Visual Studio Code. Be happy with that, because you don't even need to think about this. So that's the way of convenience, because when you're trying to make this convenient for you, make you comfortable, you don't quite care about how things work internally. And what I care throughout my life is how things work internally. And again, like in regards to jobs, to making money, here is the point. When you're sticking to high-level technologies, you can do some trending things. Well, of course, you can get enslaved by the big company, you can work there, you can have a lot of money, but, well, for me personally, it's the situation when you just no longer want to leave at all, because you have no reason to leave, because you have money, but you have no reason to leave. That's it. On the other hand, when you have the reason to leave, most likely you don't have money, and you're just starting to think how to get some. And here's where the interesting things are coming onto the stage, because there are two types of specialists, let's say. So the one type is like the general trending type, like they know this cutting edge technologies, they like doing that daily and getting well paid for that. Well, it's okay. I don't mind. I don't have anything against this. That's their choice. But the problem is that one step left, one step right, and after those experts might even not have any idea of what to do next, if just one step left or one step right. And yes, definitely, generalists are paid less than the narrow specialists. That's true. But I believe that understanding the overall like how it works, like how Linux works in great details, how the low level programming works, how memory works, how the hardware works, how good all computers work. So how to write in 6502 assembly, even though no one writes now in 6502 assembly, like only hobbyists obviously, but generally like for production, for big companies, for making money, no one is doing that. But like having this good backgrounds, having the overall understanding of this, let's call it computer science. Probably I've never been to college, because if I have been there, I would end up hating programming and never ever achieving anything of what I have of what I have now. I don't have much, but if I've been to college, I didn't have even this. Trust me, that's absolute truth, because the way how they teach is based on the violence, is based on tortures, like mentally. But anyways, the principles is there. So just getting the knowledge you're trying to be pushed into the head, it's not going naturally. That's violence. That's the mental violence, and it's not the case. And the problem is that when they teach to make this expert for this cutting edge technologies to handle, to like this experts for this modern things, the way how they teach them is also like they teach them so the developer won't be free. He just knows how to do this little thing. He's getting paid for this. He's happy, and that's it. So, well, obviously, it's really good when people are like developing their own selves, looking for some interesting stuff like they're interested in particular. Of course, so I'm very biased. I need to say that I'm very biased because my personal experience in self-education is so different to what the major amount of developers is having by attending the college or like courses, whatever. It's really different. So I'm very biased about this. And like I always say, I'm often getting the commentaries like, Komaki King, I really like your style, like your mindset. I want to be like you. And I always say that you don't have to be like me, because if you will be like me, you will have exactly the same problems that I have, that I just don't show on YouTube. Those problems I have. Well, sometimes I do, but generally I don't. And you have no idea how to deal with those problems, because I've spent my entire life dedicated my entire life to deal with those problems somehow. And if you will go there, you will need to live one extra life to learn to be me, and then try to solve those problems that I didn't yet manage to solve myself. And I'm not even sure if I would ever manage to solve those problems. So yeah, you don't have to be me. You have to be your own selves. You need to find your own way. And again, I know this might sound a little bit off topic, but I just really want to emphasize this fact that this question, so the trade-off or the balance between the making money and cutting-edge technologies, it's not about hobby versus like money or work or whatever. It's all about convenience versus freedom. So if all the things that are related to money, work, family, whatever, that you're forced to do something, it's all serving the matter of convenience at any point. And if you're getting into this, you're getting enslaved, and you even no longer feel this. And that's the dead end for me personally. That's not leading anywhere. On the other hand, if you consider freedom every single day, it's not the matter of you just consider freedom once and that's it. You're considering this every single day. Like I'm fighting redundancy all over my life for all the life I live, because I have something and I understand, okay, that's a bit too much. I can strip it a bit more and just try to get to the very core. And that's the reason why I really like the idea behind the tiny core Linux, because The TinyCore Linux is really, it's the core. It's the core of Linux, and the packaging system is probably the only packaging system that is in spirit of Linux, because, well, Debian packages are quite similar in terms of they are also like TCZs, they are also like just compressed packages. But anyways, I don't know if you guys, if you dive into how the TCZ packages work in TinyCore Linux, it's just beautiful. It's really, it's amazing. I don't know. It's just internal feeling that until you go into this, you can't really understand it. And the community is big, and that's the problem, that no one knows about this. So like people using like this cutting edge technologies and trying to join the communities where the values are convenience, where the values are comfort, right? But there are communities where the values are freedom. And when I once read some post on TinyCore Linux forum, someone of the senior users was like yelling out to the outside, like, why the heck do you use the TinyCore Linux 13.x whatever? Because TinyCore Linux 5.x is literally enough. This like 15-year-old version is good enough to do everything that you ever need. So why the heck do you go for the version 13, even though they do provide the versions 13? And I really love this because, yeah, like, why to use something newer when you don't have to? That's the redundancy. That's it, you know. So this never-ending run for the sake of convenience and comfort, it just ends up enslaving people and doing something to their minds that you're starting thinking that it's okay. Like, it's not only in programming, it's the entire life. And what happens out there, and everyone thinks it's okay, but it might not be okay. I was just lucky that like I have a natural sensitivity, so I do sense the violence. I do sense when something unnatural is happening, and no matter the environment, it might be the whole world, like computers, it might be like whatever, like part of the life, maybe anything. I just do sense that, and when I sense this unnatural thing, I'm starting thinking about why is that happening, and all those like weird things have the same roots. It's the matter of what the entire system is serving for. So whether it's serving comfort or whether it's serving freedom. So you guys, I really recommend you watching Richard Stallman's video about where he's explaining the free software movements, because he explains this in regards to purely to the software, and he just does it much better than I do. I do understand this somehow on my own, but again, like, I'm very biased, and it's really good that you're asking these questions, because these questions are very important, but given the meaningful answers is really challenging, because I don't want you to get biased after listening to what I say, because this might not be the way to go for you, because you is you, and you may have absolutely different faith, lifestyle, goals, everything. Life, living in a different country is totally different. You know, like, what I say is just specific to the current environment where I am, to the current time, to the current place, and the very narrow scope of like from and to. So if something would change, like it's all gonna be different. Like when I lost my home during the war, for instance, like I no longer have that home, and that changed everything, you know. And all the models I had, all these castles in the skies that I was building in my head, they all were ruined completely, and now I need to do this from scratch. And this is okay, because every time you are wrong, life is actually showing you that you are wrong, and you have the chance to start from scratch every time. And the idea is that when you're starting from scratch every time, whatever you build is gonna suck, and that's fine. but the matter of having this internal powers to start from scratch every time, to dive into the very gist of whatever you're doing. That's very important skill, and that's the skill of flexibility, being able to change along with the life flow. That's very important, and that actually gives you a sensitivity in regards to every single question in the world. And again, like, this allows you not to ask the questions like, unfortunately money comes first. No, it's not true. It's only your opinion, not opinion, it's only your choice. You've chosen this. And people say, like, it didn't choose it. No, it's the world operating that way. I say, well, the world is going to hell. That's the way how it's operated. And it's you to choose whether you go to hell with the world, or trying to resist, or trying to have some alternatives or whatever. So, like, many things are happening in the world, some good, some bad, but you don't really have to, like, follow, like, if something is big and if something is common, it doesn't mean that it's right. Just someone for some reason does it like this and promotes and widespreads this to the whole world, probably for his own benefit, but that's just one idea, that's just one person, that's just one big company, like, whatever. But that's not true, because even, like, many people are going crazy, going completely insane, doesn't mean that you also have to do that. So I just want to say that all these questions, it's really the matter of looking for the answers on your own, because no one's answer is not going to fit. And I really like about this TinyCurl Linux intro when they say TinyCurl Linux is distributed without any warranties at all. So it's not guaranteed that you have anything that would fit your needs or whatever. So you just have what you have. You're free to do whatever you want with this. That's pretty much all about it. So, like, it's hard to wrap your mind around the matter of freedom, like, in the life in general. But if you have a look at the free software ideas, at the ideas behind the free software movement, explained by Richard Stallman, and if you really dive deep into these ideas, you will then understand that these ideas can actually be widespread to whatever part of the life, and they can be useful in other areas of the life, not just the software, and not just developing the software or even using the software, but to whatever part of the life. And that's, I originally came to this ideas, to exactly the same ideas as being introduced in the free software movement. From the difference, I got to this from within because of my natural sensitivity to this crap. Let's say. I'm sorry for, again, this is biased. This is the matter of being biased. So when I call something crap, it doesn't obviously mean that it is crap. Just my own personal opinion. But anyways, so I'm coming from this internal sensitivity perspective. But it's really fun and it's really interesting to have the reflection, to find the reflection of your thoughts and for what you sense inside in someone else's lifetime research, like in case for Richard Stallman, for instance. And it's a completely different tradition that I come from. The backgrounds are so different, but the concepts are really the same. And it's really so cool that when we are focusing at the very concepts, then we can get the gist of whatever and apply this apply this everywhere. I think this is a good place to actually start this never-ending talk. So I'm not sure if I answered the questions, but I just wanted to give you a spirit and to give a spirit of seeking the answer, never-ending searching for the answer yourself, because that's the only way how this personal truth can be revealed. This is it from my side. Thanks for watching. Until next time, and take care.